Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
You're listening to Serious Privacy by TrustArc. Please welcome our hosts, Paul Breitbarth and Kay Royal.
What do defending a PhD dissertation, privacy books, the color of orange, and biometric legislation have in common? No, this is not some lame-ass joke. This is just the list of topics that we will be discussing in this week's episode of Serious Privacy. And you guessed right, we have no guests this week, so it's just Kay and myself that will be discussing a whole range of topics. The episode may be slightly messy, it might be slightly longer than you are used to, but we try to cover a lot of updates since it's been so long since the two of us spoke together. My name is Paul Breitbarth.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy. Paul, this is a week for you and I.
It is, yeah, it's been a while.
It has been a while.
We missed a week because both of us were too busy to get anything out.
Oh, too busy and too sick, let's be honest.
That's
too busy and too
true.
sick. Maybe we should record an extra one that we can just play if something traumatic happens.
Well, yeah, if we ever find the time. Maybe once you've hired the new people for our legal team and they are up and running, then we have a
That will be
again.
exciting. That will be exciting. So, okay, I have a question. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but I'll let you answer. Do you plan or are you flying by the seat of your pants?
What do you think?
You want to answer for me and I'll answer for you?
Of course I'm a planner, and of course you are not.
Of course I fly by the seat of my pants, hence why my dissertation should be turned in today and it'll probably be tomorrow. Because with IAPP and everything, I haven't had time to, sit down and focus and work. And this isn't one of those things you can give me 30 minutes and let me go check for all the hyphens, N dashes, and M dashes and make sure they're all in the right place.
No, I actually handed in the academic paper that I've talked about before in its revised version on Sunday. But it took all of Sunday to revise the one paper. And that's 8,000 words. And I guess your dissertation is slightly longer than 8,000 words.
Slightly longer, I think, right now. Now, this includes the references, but substantively, I believe I am at, without the references, I am somewhere at 118, 120 pages.
Yeah, so I had 20 pages for the one article. So it's...
Well, I will tell you, I sat down one Saturday and said, okay, I'm getting all my reference sites listed in the paper, so it automatically generates the list for me. It took me the entire Saturday, like 13 hours.
Yeah, exactly. That's how long it
This is hard, people. This is hard.
It is. Being a lawyer
It is hard. But when I get the date set, which should be November 10th or 11th, so we only have like 2 weeks. Once we set the date, I will ask on LinkedIn if anybody wants to attend. And if you do, I will send you the link because it is open to anyone we invite to come and watch and give me a hard time and ask me lots of questions.
Anybody can ask you questions during
Anybody can ask me questions. No, anybody in the audience can ask me questions. And I warned my chair, okay, if you get 5 privacy people on there, I'm going to get all kinds of questions. We'll run out the time. So they may cut them off. But please do come because, that might save me from any ridiculous questions from my committee.
That's actually very different than a PhD defense here in the Netherlands would be. Because here it is just an academic panel, not by your choosing, but by the choosing of your promoter. And they have exactly 45 minutes.
Oh, no. Ours is scheduled for 2 hours. We have time to present. time for the audience to ask questions. And if it was in person, it'd be in a room and the audience could be there. It'd actually be posted and open to any students because they post the defense publicly.
Yeah, that's the same here. That's the same in the Netherlands. You do your so-called layman speech of 15 minutes where you explain to everybody in the audience what your defense or what your dissertation is about. But then the clock starts ticking. You have 45 minutes. And at the end of the 45 minutes, an official of the university comes in with this big stick, stamps the floor, shouts, "Hora est," it is time, in Latin, and then it's over. Even if you are mid-answer, it doesn't matter. 45 minutes to the second, that is the time you have for your defense.
Oh, wow. We are not that efficient. That would be awesome if it was 45 minutes.
And actually,
but we do know who our committee is. Although there is a representative that has to come from the university that we don't know who it is until it's scheduled. And I can't schedule it till I turn in the paper, hence the, professor riding my butt. But I tell him I only got weekends to work on this. Give me a break. But anyway, so we have that. But anyone can come in. Anyone can ask questions. We scheduled 2 hours. Hope we don't need that long. But yeah, it's open to just about anyone. Or I guess basically anyone, which I told them, be careful. I may have lots of people that want to attend, if only because I pay them to do so.
I think actually a lot of our listeners would be eager to attend and hear you defend your dissertation.
It's on privacy in universities, if anybody's ever mentioned that or missed that. It's privacy in U.S. universities, and it's kind of interesting. And a lot of my listeners may actually have been part of the dissertation because, including you, Paul, because there was an open call out for privacy experts to answer the 3 series of questions that went out. This was in order to remove the bias. This was in order to remove the bias of me being the researcher and determining what laws are universities subject to, what data subjects do they process data on, or what activities are they engaged in that would trigger privacy laws, what privacy program elements should they have, what risk factors do they face. All of those things were put forth to the experts, which removed the bias of me determining what that was. So it added a level of academic rigor to it, which, the experts didn't come up with anything different, but that just, reinforces.
So
I know what I'm talking about. So that was great.
That sounds very interesting. So
it was.
Will you also publish your dissertation?
Yes, it will be submitted and published. And so it's really cool.
Very good. So that's something for people to put on their reading list.
There you go. Exactly. It's fascinating. Fascinating.
Well, I mean, it is. If you are a privacy professional, then I'm certain that it is fascinating.
There's not a lot of information out there about what privacy laws universities handle. And a lot of people, especially here in the U.S., not privacy people, but people who are otherwise highly educated, believe the only privacy laws that apply at universities is FERPA. We're like, oh, no, because I was asked, why was I asking chief privacy officers at Fortune 100 companies to participate? They don't handle FERPA. I'm like, no, but other than FERPA, and if they're a vendor, they should handle FERPA. Privacy officers at universities and private companies handle the exact same privacy topics. It's just one gets paid more than the other.
Interesting. Yeah. So that's one for your reading list. And I've actually got 2 more recommendations for people's reading list.
Ooh, what are these? You've been reading books.
I'm reading books. So welcome to the Serious Privacy Book Club.
In addition to the cooking show.
Exactly. No, actually, the first one that I would like to recommend is part of the Future of Privacy Forums book club this month. And it's called Privacy is Hard and 7 Other Myths. So it isn't. Achieving Privacy Through Careful Design. And they're both books written by Dutchmen, by the way. This is written by a professor known on Twitter as XOTOT. And he has actually written a book on 8 myths on privacy and data protection.
The first myth being it's hard?
No, the first myth is we are not collecting personal data, which is your favorite of all times, I would say.
We don't have personal data, says every salesperson everywhere.
Exactly. Then the second one is you have zero privacy anyway, get over it. I've got nothing to hide. It is merely metadata. We always need to know who you are. Your data is safe with us. Privacy and security are a zero-sum game. And privacy is hard. So there are 8 great chapters, 8 great myths, and I think this is absolutely worth for everybody in our field of work to read.
Oh, I love that. I actually saw Jules Poloneski, head of FPF, at the IAPP last week and said hello to him, so that was good. It was good to see a lot of people there. And yeah, I'll fit in a little bit about the IAPP, first in-person event held in San Diego this past week. By the time this comes out, it'd be 2 weeks ago. But very nice.
Wasn't it strange to be back in person at a conference?
It was. It was even stranger to fly, but not that bad since I came from Phoenix, so it's like a 50-minute flight. But I'm not sure I even want to do like a 3-hour flight to go to the other side of the country, or 4 hours, and you're headed for a 9-hour flight.
Yeah,
so
I am.
I don't know about those things.
So you're not coming over for Brussels?
I'm probably not. I'm risk averse. I'm an attorney. Okay, what's the second book?
The second book is, as mentioned, also by a Dutch person called Huib Modderkolk. He's a journalist from some of the main newspapers here in the Netherlands. And it's called There is a War Going On, but No One Can See It. It was a bestseller in Dutch. It's now been translated into English, and it's been out since September. And he did 6 years of research into cybercrime and the dark side of the digital world. And we've spoken about these issues before.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounded like the other author that we had on here before that was the cybersecurity expert. So
yeah,
nice.
But
ought to be a great book.
Yeah, that was a great book. And this one also, I thoroughly enjoyed it because it really gives you a behind-the-scenes look about what has been going on in the digital world. For example, he reconstructs British-American espionage operations, reveals how the power relation between countries enable intelligence services to share and withhold data from each other. He looks at Snowden, but he also looks at the Russian hackers from Cozy Bear. He looks at all kinds of ransomware attacks. And some of those cases are typically Dutch, but most of them are actually very international. And there was a pre-publication of one of the chapters in the Guardian, the UK newspaper, a couple of weeks ago, that was even more fascinating. And yeah, it really gives you a very good insight of how the online criminals work. This is how a teenage hacker lost himself online. Somebody who's just started, a teenager who just started to use computers and started hacking some things to hack his school and see if he could do it.
Grades or whatever.
Yeah, and then suddenly he was pulled from his bed by the police somewhere in the afternoon. So yeah, it's a fascinating read about everything that is going on.
Are you about to convince me to read my first nonfiction book for fun?
Yes.
Yes. I read them for law school and everything else. I don't read them for fun.
No, for me, this really was for fun. And I thoroughly enjoyed the book. I already read his newspaper articles, and that was great. But I would highly recommend There is a War Going On, but No One Can See It.
Wow.
It's available at your local booksellers, like the other one, Privacy is Hard, or from all the online web shops. And if you want to know more about There's a War Going On, there is a Guardian Live event apparently online on November 17. And the FPF is doing a book club on the other one, on Privacy is Hard. So lots of opportunities also to talk about these two books. And I know we don't do a lot of book recommendations, and certainly not nonfiction, but both are really worth your time, maybe over the Christmas holidays or so.
Absolutely. Oh, I like that. Very much like that. So, yeah, we'll make sure that we post the links. And anyone that has read it, let us know what you think. And if you need other recommendations, or we need to get a discussion going on what you think about the book or whatever, that might actually make me, read the book.
Yeah. Or if you really want to hear from the authors, then we'll just go and invite them.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, let us know. We'll make sure if we can get the authors on there. I love that. Oh, that's really cool.
So, Kay, you mentioned already you were at IAPP. So what happened? How was IAPP, apart from taking the flight and going there and obviously showing your QR codes to get into the venue? And what was it like?
Yeah. Let's talk about, first of all, I didn't decide until partway through the week that I was actually going to go. I had to be over in San Diego anyway Friday night. And I'm like, okay, I can go a day early and go on Thursday morning and go, but that means I have to fly rather than my daughter and I drive. Or Wednesday night. I think it was for Wednesday night. Whatever it was. My flights got delayed by hours and hours. It was absolutely brutal.
Don't you love going back to traveling?
Oh, God, yes. I can't tell you how much. Not to mention, I didn't have all my travel stuff, and so I hadn't paid a huge bit of attention to what I needed to take into the venue to get in, which was your vaccination records. And mine are on 2 separate cards, and so I had left them, hopefully, with my husband so he could go to the pharmacy and get them combined, but we can't find one of the cards, apparently. We know it's here. Trust me, it can't be lost. Or the pharmacy has a records, but the state doesn't have my records on vaccination. You're supposed to be able to get your records from the state because apparently they don't like my name. And so I ran into all these issues, and then IAPP is like, well, we can give you a rapid test to be able to get in. Well, I'm not going to take the rapid test out in public in front of everybody. So I went into the ladies' room to do it. You have to call the rapid test company and connect with them, and they video, and they have to see you open the box. I'm like, oh, good Lord, I can't be in a restroom on video. I don't know what the other women around are going to be doing. So I was trying to find like this isolated little spot corner. And here I am on the video with Paul right now, trying to duck and showing him visually what I was doing. And you had to put in a lot of personal information. I'm sitting there going, ew. So I couldn't get my phone to connect because I was trying to find somewhere, isolated to call someone. So I couldn't get them. We connected one time, but before we could even get to the identifying information, the call dropped. And trying to reconnect I was like, to hell with this. That's basically what it was. So I went out there. I saw Trevor meanwhile, and he, smiled when he saw the rapid test kit. I dumped it in the garbage, let IAPP know, I'm sorry. I guess I'll just camp out here right outside the great room doors and sit on my computer and work. And I did. And I saw tons and tons and tons of people, discuss the different sessions with them, what sessions they liked, which ones were good, which one they went to. It was really good. I enjoyed being there, but I wasn't actually in the sessions, which I kind of regret. But most of the time I go to conference anyway, I wind up seeing people that I sit down and talk with for an hour regardless and skip the sessions anyway. So, but I would have liked to be in the Great Hall sessions. Supposedly there was a fabulous keynote speaker closing it out. And I wished I would have been there to hear that.
So for your next trip, make sure that vaccination card is all set.
Or at least I have a picture of it on my phone, which I probably do, but y'all don't understand. I got something like 16,000 pictures on my phone, so leave me alone. But regardless, most of the people there were very excited that they were there. They were happy. They were glad to be around people and see people. There was no mask requirement because you had to be vaccinated or take a test in order to attend. And so people really loved it. But I do have to say the traffic wasn't light. The airline wasn't empty. People are acting like it's business as normal. But I got a feeling there were less attendees. I think they had like 600 registered beforehand. And then they expect people to register last minute like me. Mm-hmm. And so they were expecting up to 1,000 people. So I don't know if it looked crowded because the venue was smaller and there weren't as many sessions, or if it really was crowded.
Well, we will see. It was good. It's good that IAPP is back on the calendar. I will be attending Brussels, so if any
they'll have Brussels in November.
Yeah, if any of our listeners want to schedule a meeting, just reach out. We'd be happy to.
Yep. I probably won't be at that one because, the whole flight thing, that's a long flight. Although it is tempting to be in Brussels, but it is a long flight.
Well, there are still gluten-free waffles for you this side.
You're still going to bribe me with the gluten-free waffles.
Of course I am.
I might have to think twice about this.
So yeah, I will be in Brussels in any case, so feel free to reach out if you want to meet us there, and I'm happy to do so.
Yeah. But TrustArc, to be honest, we're still not setting up a vendor presence because we're not going to require our people to be there. The situation is still a lot uncertain. Yeah. So we're being careful there.
Yeah, so there won't be a booth, and there may or may not be other TrustArc people coming over. I mean, Ralph will be there.
We have some in Europe, so at least those will be there, but we may have a few others.
And we'll see who will be coming over. So with those main things out of the way, let's take a look at some of the other issues that happened in the past couple of weeks, because
there are other issues of things that have happened.
Well, I mean, we've discussed some of the bigger things like China,
which will be live on what, Monday?
Yes, on November 1st. So the day before, 2 days before this episode releases. But you've already heard last week's episode on China, if everything is right. So you know that is there and what to expect. Next week, we'll bring you an episode on Quebec, which also has adopted an omnibus data protection bill, which sets a new standard for North America. And there are lots of other things that happen, smaller tidbits. So let's discuss a few of those.
Okay, let's go with those. Shall I jinx it and say we've been kind of quiet in privacy?
Well, I'm not sure it's jinxing it. I mean, we all know that it is the silence before the storm, before the European Data Protection Board starts spilling opinions on legitimate interests and anonymization techniques, and Article 3.2 compared to Chapter 5 of the GDPR, the whole scope and transfers discussion. We know that they have launched a cookie task force. We know that India is this month debating again in Congress the data protection bill. Pakistan is doing the same. And of course, we know that in just a couple of weeks, PIPL goes live in China.
PIPL goes live in China. And I never did publish that operationalization booklet for China because we put out so many other resources. So if y'all want it, holler at me. I'll go on and, we won't publish this for a week. So never mind. I'll go ahead and go finish that. It's a nice little checklist for what to do. Of course, you have a checklist if you read the white paper or the blogs or listen to the podcast. But one of the things that I heard really interesting about China today, we're doing QBRs for our sales team right now, quarterly business reviews for those who aren't in QBRs. And one of the things that our executive said is that people don't seem to understand. China is quite different from other countries doing enforcement. With China, if they tell you you're going to have a fine of 5 million won, your answer is not to get your attorneys on board and fight it. Your answer is to say thank you. Thank you for giving us an appropriate fine for the misstep or mistake that we just made, and we are delighted. Here, take our money, please. And so...
Oh, and we are so sorry. We will never do it again.
Exactly.
Our apologies. Our sincere apologies, and we'll improve our lives.
And it makes me wonder, one, if that's true. It sounds reasonable. But two, it makes me wonder if the very respectful and honorable people in Asia understand that most of the rest of the world aren't that respectful and honorable. And yeah. We're very litigious when it comes to privacy.
I'm actually not so sure.
I may take that out.
Yeah, I'm not so sure whether foreign companies will be able to get standing before the courts in China to
actually
even
argue
try
it
and appeal such a fine. That is something we can ask our guest next week. We will be speaking to Graham Webster of Stanford University. He is part of the China law team at Stanford. And he will be joining us to discuss PIPL in more detail. So we'll ask him how that would work. So that's an episode to
I love that. And we've got an episode also coming up on Quebec with Constantine.
Yes, Constantine will be back.
And so love that coming up. So there's a little bit moving in privacy that we've already got the shows lined up for y'all. So what do we have today?
Talking about the power of social media.
Yes.
I have another nice story for you, and that comes from Italy, where a realtor was given a warning and a fine by the Data Protection Authority for using LinkedIn to solicit sales. And now you may think, well, but isn't that what LinkedIn is for, to connect to people and make sure that you have business connections? Well, yes, to some extent, but it is about building your professional network. LinkedIn is not a sales tool, according to the Italian DPA, and I think I would be able to agree with that. What happened here was that the employee or an employee of the realtor looked up the owner of a property on a public real estate register and then contacted them on LinkedIn. So they thought, oh, this is a nice house that I would want to be able to sell. Who owns the house? Let's look it up and then see on LinkedIn this person, find their contact details, reach out and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I saw that this is your house. Do you want to sell it? And that is not allowed. It is not compatible with the purpose of the public real estate register, the land register. It is also not compatible with the purposes of LinkedIn. The realtor was given a warning.
I didn't go look at the terms of LinkedIn.
Well, this is using it for a sale this way, apparently is not allowed. So the realtor was given a warning, but also a €5,000 fine because they didn't respond to the Italian DPA's request for information.
Oh.
Again, something that is easy to avoid by just responding if you get a request for information.
Okay, so I'm looking over it. Of course, I'm looking over it quickly. I haven't looked over it in a thing, but that would be interesting then, because wouldn't that rely on the people making deliberate choices as to whether or not to share their contact information? Because, I mean, I would think there would be some points to argue in this. And this may be where the US and the UK have differing views again. But I would say, but there are some good things in there and some bad things in there, I think, in that decision. I agree with you. I think the overall purpose of LinkedIn is to connect business professionals together. But the reason you connect them together is because there would be a purpose in contacting the other person. And so wouldn't this rely more on the person making the options as to how they make their contact information public or not?
No, because that still is for business context and not for promotional purposes via third parties. And that is, in general, I mean, that might be a setting on LinkedIn. I don't know, because when creating my account, I already shut all of that down. It might be that there is a possibility to allow for third parties to contact you for promotional purposes.
Yeah.
But in any case, that was not the settings of this person. So that was a violation also of LinkedIn's terms and conditions.
Well, then that makes sense then, because I'm looking now with the LinkedIn, unsubscribing from LinkedIn email communications, SMS communications, which is text messaging, and interest-based ads. You can unsubscribe from LinkedIn email communications. I'm assuming that means InMail, the LinkedIn that allows you to contact other people.
I would say so.
SMS communications and interest-based ads at any time. And they have a link to managing advertising preferences and turning email and mobile notifications on and off. And so there are some things you can do, but the fact that the Italian DPA went to the point of violating LinkedIn's terms of use, then clearly that's in there. So it's interesting how this happens, because what companies don't use LinkedIn for selling, which, by the way, I can't stand it. And the people that are doing this are not the ones listening to our podcast. When someone requests a connection with you and then the very next email is a sales pitch, I'm like, go the flip away, please. Just
disconnect.
Yeah.
Now.
Stop this nonsense. And you're right. I'm going right back to it. This is not what LinkedIn was meant for.
So you see, the Italian DPA isn't half stupid by making this conclusion.
I tried to argue the other point. I really tried that there. I'm laughing my butt off now because it's just not really working. But in some ways, it is good for sales, and in other ways, it's not. It's depending on the way in which you're using it. Are you following the terms and the policies of LinkedIn? Because, I mean, every company out there is using LinkedIn for sales if possible, but hopefully they're doing it the right way. Hopefully we're doing it the right way. I'm sure we're doing it the right way. So, and if we're not, our listeners will, right?
I'm sure they will. But I do believe that we are doing this the right way. We mentioned that it is a bit silence before the storm when it comes to new legislation, but there is actually one law, apart from Quebec, which will value a special episode, another law that we need to briefly discuss, and that's Saudi Arabia, which was adopted last month and will be effective March 23rd, 2022, the new personal data protection, which is very consistent with the other modern data protection laws that we've recently seen, including, of course, China's PIPL. It is a comprehensive law, and for companies doing business in Saudi Arabia, it is important to realize that they will need to register with the competent authority, the SDAIA, and they need to appoint somebody who's responsible for compliance, as well as a domestic representative. Furthermore, there are provisions about impact assessments, breach reporting, records of processing activities that need to be kept. And the main legal basis for data processing in Saudi Arabia will be consent.
And I'm sensing a trend
cross-border
here.
transfers are restricted.
I'm sensing
What trend do you sense?
I'm just a series of trends of requiring privacy officers for certain processing, requiring an in-country representative in order to gain legal jurisdiction over the company, DPIAs and PIAs, consent processes, individual rights. There's a level of trends being set here. And if people really want to look at these trends, then go back and look at the Fair Information Practice Principles or the Pillars of Practice that were originally set by the OECD. And you can see that pretty much all of these laws go back and adhere to the basic principles and pillars of privacy.
Yes, absolutely. And when it comes to fines, because also fines are included in the Saudi Arabia law, you can get up to 1 million riyals in fines for violating the cross-border transfer restrictions, or up to a year in prison, up to 3 million or 2 years in prison if you disclose or publish sensitive data, or if you intend to harm the data subject or achieve personal gain, and up to 5 million for any other violation of the law. For recurring violations, penalties can be increased, including over the maximum, but it cannot be more than double. And also the proceeds from violations of the law can be confiscated. But I do think it's interesting that we have yet another law that sees personal sanctions, including imprisonment, for violating data protection. Is that another trend that we get?
You know, I don't want to go to prison in Saudi Arabia or China.
No.
Okay,
so what
I
about
don't want to go to prison.
Do you think a federal U.S. privacy law will see imprisonment as a potential sanction?
I don't. But however, it is allowed under HIPAA. And there have been healthcare professionals who have gone to prison. The one that comes to mind is a doctor, I believe it was in Beverly Hills, that was looking at patient records, and I don't believe was taking the records and doing things with them. I think was merely looking at them, if I recall correctly, but my brain's old and rotted, so I may not be recalling correctly, but I think that's the case, and actually went to jail for a period of time, at least a year, I think it was. And so, yeah, there is jail or prison time available here in the United States under HIPAA, which most people don't realize, but it can be significant. And as I just said, I don't want to go to jail anywhere. Orange does not look good on me, regardless of the fact I used to wear it every weekend when I was in Knoxville, Tennessee for the UT Vols. Don't hate on me, people. Hate the game, not the player. So you had to wear orange every Friday night in Tennessee, I'm telling you. And here's the thing. When I worked on the cardiac step-down ward, you had to have all of your medicines ready to run in the room during a commercial. And by the way, you better have a ton of nitroglycerin ready, because if there was a bad call or a bad play, the entire ward started having chest pain, palpitations. So that's what it was like to work in the UT Vols. I do have a football joke, though.
Go ahead.
He's like, oh my God. Okay. So in the U.S.
Is this football or soccer?
This is football, American football. And there are two teams under UT, both college teams, University of Tennessee, University of Texas, and they both wear orange. Why does UT wear orange? So they can go to the football game on Friday night, so they can go hunting over the weekend, and they can still pick up garbage on the side of the road come Monday. I'm sorry. I love UT. I love both UTs. I'm graduating from University of Texas, and I love UT Vols, but I'm sorry. That right there, that's funny.
I mean, you can complain to me all you want about wearing orange, but you do realize I'm from the Netherlands, and orange is our national color.
Oh, see? That's how I didn't know that. Do you pick up garbage on the side of the road wearing orange?
I do that wearing any color. We don't do orange jumpsuits for people who are penalized for something.
This is more.
We do wear orange.
Safety vests. You wear orange for safety vests so people can see the bright colors, or road construction.
Yeah,
work.
we do that. We do that too, but we also wear orange in celebration of our royal family on our national holiday, at sports matches, especially soccer.
Now, is it a bright
the Olympics? Or
is it a bright fluorescent orange, or is it a deep?
Yeah,
a bright fluorescent orange.
It's real orange.
See?
The one that you need sunglasses
I still
with.
have nursing scrubs with bright fluorescent orange, I'm just saying. But I tried to wear them once here in Arizona, and I got mocked out of the hospital.
Well, you are ready for the Dutch winning the World Cup sometime in, I don't know when.
I'm ready. There we go. We'll have to have an orange day one day here on Serious Privacy.
Or, of course, you are able to come and celebrate our national holiday on the 27th of April. Then everybody wears orange too.
Oh, orange suits?
Anything orange.
I like that. We may have to make that a picture day or something. Okay, I may cut out this entire conversation about orange. You never can tell. All right. So
no, you won't. We'll keep it in.
There we go. Because, all right, so what else do we have on the news? So, I'm looking. Oh, here we go. The French court rules that IKEA must pay a million euros over an employee spying case.
Tell me more.
All right, let's tell you more. They fined the furniture giant 1 million euros. The French subsidiary of IKEA was accused of setting up an elaborate system to spy on hundreds of employees and job applicants from 2009 through 2012. So if you ever wondered, does GDPR have backward-looking enforcement? Yes, it does. So they used private detectives and police. The company was able to breach employees' privacy by viewing their personal bank records. And fake employees were also used to write up reports on IKEA staff. So that's interesting. And so the former chief executive during that time was also found guilty and received a 2-year suspended prison sentence and a 50,000 euro for his role in the scheme. And it had been...
So there we go, another prison sentence.
His was suspended, though, so makes me wonder.
But still,
exactly. They claimed the scheme had been ongoing since the early 2000s, and they had asked for a 3-year prison sentence for the former CEO. And 15 people, including several store managers, police officials, and the head of a private security firm, faced allegations of wrongdoing. So there we go. Interesting.
So let's talk a bit about California, because there are some things happening near you as well. I saw something about new breach notifications for genetic data, and of course we have some news on the, what is it, CPPA? I get lost in all your abbreviations there.
Yes.
The California Privacy Protection Agency.
Yes. So in California, they actually just passed some amendments to the CCPA. Essentially, they were technical amendments, just cleaning up a few things. California also just passed a Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act. We have a federal one here in the U.S., so they just passed a state one. I believe he signed these, and they would take effect on January 1st, 2022. So, yes, the Genetic Information Privacy Act, not Non-Discrimination Act, but Genetic Information Privacy Act, GIPA, came out. There is a breach of genetic data by amending the data breach notification law to include, and then the timing for the agency's rulemaking authority. So the California Privacy Protection Agency, CPPA, I believe has hired its first executive director. I believe we were looking at perhaps having that person on the podcast, but have not yet. And that person is now looking to ramp up and staff the remainder of the agency. So I imagine that they will start their rulemaking probably next year, 2022.
Yeah, that's Ashkan Zoltani, who has been named as the executive director, and he has a long background, especially in ad technology and fighting ad technology.
Yes, so expect cookie consent to be
technology.
Expect cookie consent to get pretty. So
I would say so. Yeah, I think the cookie consent and the cookie banners will be one of the priorities for the CPPA when they fully take office and become fully operational. Will they be able to enforce before CPRA actually enters into application in January of 2023? Can they already start enforcing now, or do they have to wait?
Well, the agency, I believe, can enforce against the CCPA as it is now. I do not believe their enforcement has to wait until the effectiveness of the CPRA.
So as it was included under there. But this does bring up an interesting question about biometric laws and how we treat those here in the U.S. So most people that know of biometric laws may be familiar with the Illinois Biometric Information Privacy Act. It was the first one.
I have no idea. Tell me more.
Yeah. So this kind of is interesting because in Europe, protecting biometric data is considered part of special categories of data. It's automatically protected. But here in the U.S., apparently it's not. And if you've paid attention to biometrics in the GDPR, I believe they call it genetic information, not biometrics, but the GDPR.
It's both genetic and biometric.
There we go. So it specifically says to identify an individual. So in some laws, it's only protected where it's used to uniquely identify an individual, such as, your eye scan to get into a door or something like that. It's not protected necessarily as medical information across the board. So here in the U.S., what we have right now is there are existing laws of biometrics. And so existing laws, we have Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, Texas, Arkansas, Illinois, Virginia, New York, Maryland, I believe, is where it is. And so those are existing. But here's the thing. All of the existing laws aren't necessarily biometric privacy laws specifically. The ones that are specifically for biometrics are Illinois, the Biometric Information Privacy Act. New York has a biometric specific act. They actually have two of them, a City of New York Administrative Code as well as a New York law. Oregon has a biometric specific law. It prohibits the use of facial recognition technologies in places of public accommodation by private entities. But it's within Portland. It's not an Oregon state law. Texas has the biometric specific law. They came right after Illinois did. They actually have it's in the Texas Business and Commercial Code, so it only regulates private companies, not the government. So if you think of a facial recognition technology law, this doesn't control the government's use of those whatsoever. It only controls private companies. And then Washington is biometric specific. So the three state laws on biometrics are Washington, Illinois, and Texas. And in Washington, a person may not enroll a biometric identifier in a database for a commercial purpose without providing notice, consent, or a mechanism to prevent the subsequent use for a commercial purpose. So again, regulates private entities and not the government for facial recognition technologies, which is a pretty contentious issue across the world. So we do have some here in the U.S. We just don't have a ton. So California stepping up is to include it in the breach notification. There are some other states that are starting to include biometrics in breach notification because that should happen.
True. At the same time, I mean, if there's something with your personal information, even your national security number or your picture or financial information that is breached, there is something you can do about it.
Yeah.
There's something you can change. You can even, although it's difficult, but you can request for your national identification number to be changed.
You can, which isn't easy to do, even, with domestic violence.
No, but I mean, it's a theoretical possibility.
It is a theoretical possibility.
You cannot change your biometrics or your genetics
easily
if they breach, if they leak. So sure, you can notify, and the only thing then you can do then is claim damages, because there is no way you can actually mitigate any consequences here.
Yeah, it's and that's the interesting thing is, they talk about being able to cure the breach before enforcement is sought, and in many cases you can't cure it. What you might be able to do, for example, if the breach is that you compromised access credentials for someone's bank account, yeah, you can change those credentials, and that way the people who had the access credentials can't get in the bank. In that way, you cured the breach. You stopped any further access of the bank accounts, and you can go back and see if there had been any illegal access to those accounts. But in most cases, no, you can't cure a breach. Once the data's out there, it's out there. Now, there are those cynical people that say, our data's out there. It's there. Everybody in the world has my social security number. It's out there. But, this isn't a case of, people saying it's too late to protect privacy.
In some ways, I think of it as reclaim your privacy. There is a way to do so. You never really give up your right to privacy. And whether your data is already out there or can already be accessed, there are still parts of your own life that you still have a right to privacy in. And don't be cynical. Don't say that, oh, we can't do it. Nobody has privacy anymore. Yes, you do. Go into a bathroom, and if there's a camera there, see if you're outraged. That will tell you.
Amen. Amen. And on that note, we'll wrap up another episode of Serious Privacy. Apologies if it was slightly messy this week. Slightly unstructured, but that's what you get on a Week in Privacy episode, where we just discuss whatever comes to our minds.
And that comes to my mind.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody ever doubted that. Next week, we'll be back with you with another episode on China. And also stay tuned for the episode on Quebec. And we promised earlier in the year, we will also do an episode on still to be recorded this side of Christmas. So also watch out for that one. If you have any other suggestions of topics that you would like to hear about, if you have questions you would like us to discuss, feel free to reach out to us via seriousprivacy@trustarc.com, via our LinkedIn page, just look for Serious Privacy, or via Twitter at @podcastprivacy. You'll find Kay on Twitter as Heart of Privacy and myself as Europol. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data, and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.